Picture yourself on a hillside, in fog so thick you cannot see the bottom. You have exactly one piece of information, the slope under your feet. Which way do you step? The obvious answer is straight downhill. It works. It can also burn thousands of steps on a valley shaped like this one. Watch. Now a different method, same starting point, same function. One step. Not luck, it knows something about the shape of this valley that the first method refuses to learn. Everything that follows is about closing that gap, how much a method should learn about curvature, and what it pays to learn it. Start from a point. Pick a direction. Decide how far to go. Repeat. That is the skeleton of every method here, and it leaves exactly one blank to fill, which direction. Here is the useful way to write that blank. The direction is the negative gradient bent by a matrix. Call it B, the method's private opinion about how the function curves right here. And there is a reason B must be positive definite. Push the direction through the slope test, and the sign comes out negative automatically. That is the promise that you are still going down. 4 famous methods, 4 answers to that single question. Turn the dial one way and each iteration is nearly free but nearly blind, so you need many. Turn it the other way and each one is beautifully informed but expensive. The methods in the middle are what people actually use. The cheapest possible opinion about curvature is to have none. Set B to the identity and the direction collapses to the plane negative gradient. This is steepest descent, always walk in the locally fastest downhill direction. For a quadratic, the best distance along that direction has a closed form gradient dotted with itself over the gradient measured through the Hessian. No searching needed. Now watch 2 steps in a row, each exactly optimal along its own line. They meet at a perfect right angle, and that is no coincidence. Stopping at the lowest point of a line leaves the new gradient with no component along it, so the next direction is forced to be perpendicular. Turn 90 degrees every step, on a long thin valley, and you get this, a zigzag bouncing wall to wall while barely crawling along the floor. How bad it gets is one number, the condition number, largest eigenvalue over smallest. Geometrically, how stretched those ellipses are. Each step multiplies the error by roughly this factor. On a round ball it is 0, 1 step and you are done. At 10, still fine. At 1,000, the method has effectively stopped, and real problems reach the thousands. Before improving the direction, settle the step. Freeze the direction, and the problem becomes one-dimensional, function value against distance traveled. You could hunt down the exact bottom of this curve. Usually that is wasted effort, polishing a step along a direction that was mediocre anyway. So ask for something weaker, not the best step, just an honestly good one. Here is the test. Take the slope you started with, keep a small fraction of it, and draw that shallower line. Any step landing below the line counts as enough progress. That is the Armijo condition, and it kills the failure where steps shrink and the decreases stop meaning anything. Everything in the shaded band passes. Notice how wide it is. The exact minimizer sits inside, but so do cheaper neighbors, and in practice the fraction is tiny, so the test is easy to satisfy. How do you find a passing step? Start ambitious, at 1, and halve until the test passes. Trying the big steps first means you never accept a timid one. Add one more requirement, that the slope has genuinely flattened before you stop, and the two together are the Wolf conditions. Remember that second one. Soon it turns out to be what keeps the smartest methods here from breaking. Let us make that concrete. One function, one starting point, one direction, and two rules for how far to go. The exact rule uses the closed form, about 0.147. The value falls from 8 to roughly 2.12. And notice the y-coordinate flipped sign, the step sailed over the valley floor. That is the zigzag being born. The backtracking rule knows none of that. It just tries. A full step overshoots wildly, 200, rejected. Halve it, 36, rejected. Halve again, 5. Below the line, so accept and move on. The careful search reached 2.12, the lazy one only 5. But the lazy one spent 3 function evaluations and no calculus. Across a full run, that trade almost always wins. Steepest descent only uses the linear part of the local picture. But we have a better picture, slope plus curvature. Why approximate the function and then ignore half the approximation? Newton's method takes the model seriously and jumps to its minimum. Differentiate, set to 0, and you get a linear system, Hessian times direction equals minus the gradient. Solve it, never invert. The natural step length is 1 because the model's minimum is right there. Try it on the function we have been zigzagging across. The Hessian is diagonal, the system takes one line, and the step lands exactly on the origin. One step, where steepest descent needed dozens, because for a quadratic the model is not an approximation. It is the function. On a function that is not quadratic, the model is a guess, but a guess that improves as you close in. Here is a one-variable example, true minimum in gold. Start at 0. Fit the parabola matching the value, slope and curvature there, then hop to its bottom. Refit and hop again. Each parabola hugs the curve more tightly, and the hops shrink fast. Now watch the errors, not the values. 0.31. 0.043. Then under a thousandth. Each is roughly the square of the one before, correct digits double every step. That is quadratic convergence, and it is why Newton finishes in about 3 iterations once it is close. Newton is fast, but neither free nor safe. Second derivatives may not exist in closed form, the solve grows like n cubed, and far from the solution the curvature it trusts can simply be wrong. Right here the function bends downward, so the fitted parabola opens downward too. Its stationary point is a maximum, and the Newton step marches confidently uphill. The repair is almost embarrassingly simple. Add a positive multiple of the identity. That lifts every eigenvalue, forces positive definiteness, and the direction turns around and heads downhill again. And notice what that one parameter does. Small, and Newton is back. Large, and the direction shrinks toward a cautious gradient step. It is a dial between the bold method and the safe one, the idea behind Levenberg Marquardt. Add a line search on top, and the method becomes reliable far away while staying fast up close. Newton's speed comes from curvature. Newton's cost comes from computing curvature. So, can we get curvature for free, out of gradients we already calculate? Track two things across a step: how far you moved and how much the gradient changed. On a quadratic, those are linked exactly by the Hessian, so we demand our approximation reproduce the same link. That is the second condition. One catch: that is n equations for about n squared over two unknowns. It does not pin the matrix down, and different ways of spending the leftover freedom gave us two updates that changed the field. Both keep an approximation to the inverse Hessian, so the direction costs only a matrix times a vector. Both are rank 2 corrections. Take what you had, add the smallest change that satisfies the second condition while staying symmetric and positive definite. Both stay positive definite on one condition: the step and the gradient change must point the same way, which is exactly what the Wolf curvature test guarantees. The line search is not decoration, it keeps the update legal. Here is the payoff on that same little quadratic. Start from the identity, so the first step is plain steepest descent. After one update, the matrix leans toward the right shape. After two, into variables, it is the exact inverse Hessian learned from gradients alone. On general functions, this converges superlinearly, a shade behind Newton, with no Hessian and no cubic solve. Between the two, BFGS wins in practice. It tolerates rough line searches and quietly corrects a bad estimate that leaves DFP stuck. One problem remains. Quasi-Newton stores a full matrix. With a million variables, that matrix cannot exist. We want Newton-like behavior with the memory of steepest descent. Think again about why steepest descent stumbles. Its directions are perpendicular in the ordinary sense, so every new step spends part of its effort undoing the last one. So change what perpendicular means. Measure angles through the Hessian instead of the identity. Directions perpendicular in that sense are called conjugate, right angles, but only after you stretch the squashed contours back into circles. And that buys something remarkable. Minimizing along conjugate directions in turn means a later step never spoils an earlier one. Each direction settles one coordinate forever, so in n variables you finish in at most n steps. The beautiful part, you never need the Hessian to build them. Take the negative gradient and bend it with one multiple of the previous direction. One remembered vector, that is the entire memory of the method. Run it from the origin. First direction, plain steepest descent. Second, the new gradient bent by 1/16. Test the two through the Hessian, and they are exactly conjugate. 0, not nearly 0. Two variables, two steps, and the second lands exactly on the solution of the linear system, gradients only, nothing ever inverted. Two classical recipes for that bending factor. On a quadratic they agree. On anything else the second is usually quicker. When progress stalls, the change in gradient vanishes, the factor collapses, and the method quietly restarts itself. Every method here stops the same way, when the gradient is small enough to call it flat, backed by checks that the point and the value have stopped moving. After that, matching method to situation is mostly mechanical. Small problem with cheap second derivatives. Newton, damped. A few thousand variables. BFGS, almost always. Millions. Conjugate gradient or limited memory BFGS. Unreliable curvature. Shift it. Noisy gradients. Do not bother estimating curvature, the noise will drown it. Two warnings. First, Scaling often matters more than the algorithm. One variable in millimeters and another in megawatts gives you a huge condition number for a purely clerical reason. Rescale, and the contours round out, often a bigger win than changing method. Second, every method here is local. It finds the bottom of the valley you dropped it into and has no idea whether a deeper one exists. Only convexity makes a stationary point the global answer. So here is the whole lesson in one line. Choose a model of the curvature and everything else follows. Take nothing and you get the honest, plodding baseline. Add a sensible step rule and any descent method becomes trustworthy. Take exact curvature and you pay for the fastest convergence there is. Or learn it, or imply it, and those two compromises are what practitioners run. And one habit that will save you in every exam question and every debugging session: settle the direction first, the distance second. The direction names the method. Mixing the two is where the confusion comes from. Everything so far assumed you could step anywhere you liked. Next time we add constraints, walls in the landscape, and watch the whole optimality story get rewritten. See you there.